Good morning, my dear students. We are going to enter our next subject, physics. Physics is also one of the branches of science. Today we are going to deal about the first chapter. Our first chapter is science and its importance. Science and its importance. Okay, so what is science? The definition of science is the systematic study of the natural world through observation and experiments. The systematic study of the natural world through observations and experiments is called science. So, what is science? Science is the systematic way of study the natural world how through observations and experiments. Here you may notice two words or two skills. One is observation and the other one is experiments. Being a science student, you should have these two skills. One is observations and another one is experiments. So already science is the systematic study of the natural world. Natural world means the world around us. So what we have to do around us, whatever things are happening in the world, the happenings we have to observe. The science student always should have a quality that he should have the skill of observation. Not simply looking and sitting on an incident or on an event, not like that. We are observing in an intellectual way such that we will ask some questions to our mind why it is happening, how it is happening, what's the result of that event. Everything we have to think about it and we have to find the answer. And what will be the experiments? Sometimes if we are learning something, that means we know that when the fire is given to the paper will be getting fire. That's a theory. Or we have observed that one. What is experiment? We are going to perform that one by our own. We are taking a small piece of paper, a matchbox, and we are going to give the fire on the paper, and we will see that the paper is getting fire. And when we have some ashes will be remained. So we have experimented that one and proved that one, so that we can say or we can teach to someone else that when we are giving some fire to a paper, the paper will be burned and only some ashes will be remained. Next one is the word science. The word science is derived from a Latin word called scientia, and the meaning of scientia is knowledge. The meaning of scientia is knowledge. So science means actually knowledge. So and we are acquiring knowledge through how observation and experiments. Now, up to class 5, we were having a general science. In the general science, we were studying about all things we were studying. But when we are entering into class 6, we are going to divide this science into mainly two categories. Science we are going to divide into two categories. One is physical science and the other one is life science. One is physical science and the other one is life science. Physical science means the science of non-living things, whereas life science is the science of living things, and that is also called biology. Biology is one of the subjects for it, one of the science subjects. So in physical science, we are going to deal with the science of non-living things, and this physical science again divided into three categories. One is physics, that's what we are going to deal with. The other one is chemistry. Then another one is geology. Chemistry is we are going to study about the various forms of matter and their changes. Geology is the study of earth. What is the quality of the soil, what is the age of the rock. So many things are there in geography you might have learned or you are going to learn. So geology is also one of the branch of physical science. And in life science or biology, there are two branches. One is botany and the other one is zoology. Botany is dealing with the science of plants or generally plants, whereas zoology is deals with the science of animals. Okay, so the science is going to divide into two mainly: physical science and life science or biology. In physical science, three categories are there: physics, chemistry, geology, and in life science we are having botany and zoology. Okay, now we are going to discuss about the scientific method. What is scientific method? What will be the scientific method? How we can about the scientific method? Science means what? Science is the acquisition, the systematic study of the natural world through observation and experiments. So when we are doing some observation and experiments, what you will get? We will get some answers. So the systematic way of asking questions, the systematic way of our study of the systematic way of asking questions. Systematic, it's a systematic way. What is scientific method? Is a systematic way of asking questions and finding its answers through observations and experiments. Asking questions and finding answers. So scientific method, what you are going to do? In a scientific method, you are going to do this one, the systematic way of asking questions, then find their answers. The questions what you are asking, you are going to find their answers. How? Through observation and experimentation, and that is called the scientific method. That is called the scientific method. So we are going to deal with what is scientific method. That is scientific method. Now, in scientific method, you are going to have some steps. The first one is that you are going to identify a problem. You are going to identify a problem. So, for example, state the problem. What will be? Why are the shadows formed? One question. So scientific method is the systematic way of asking question and finding its answer. So the first step is that identifying the problem. So what is the identification or what is my problem? I am going to ask one question: why the shadows are formed? Why the shadows are formed? The second step is doing background research. That means I have got a question. So now I am going to do some background research. What will be the background research? Collect information from books, internet. You can collect. So the question is that what is the question? Why shadows are formed? Shadows formed. This is my problem. This is the problem. Why shadows are formed. Second step is that doing background research. So why shadows are formed? I can ask to the seniors, or I can ask to my elders, or I can ask to my class teacher, or I can ask. Nowadays the internet is there, so you can take Google and you can ask the question why the shadows are formed. So you are going to collect the information from everywhere, wherever you can get the information. From there you are going to get the information. That is called doing background research. Then what is the third step? First step is identifying the problem. Second one is doing the background research. That means you can use internet, books, etc. Third one is developing hypothesis. Develop hypothesis. What is hypothesis? Hypothesis. That means I am going to assume this is why shadows are going to be formed. Shadows are formed when an object blocks the path of light. For example, this was my question, so I am going to make a hypothesis. Shadows are formed when an object is blocking the path of light. Okay, that is called a hypothesis. That means my assumption, and it can be true or it can be false. So next step is that we have to check whether our hypothesis is true or force. So what will be the next step? Experimentation and verification. In order to verify that, I have to experiment. The next skill, one of the skills of science is the experiment. So I am going to experiment, or I am going to verify this one through experiment. So fourth step is, after developing the hypothesis, I am going to check whether the hypothesis is true or false. So I am going to do experimentation, and I am going to do experimentation. Okay, experimentation and verification. So I can verify through the experiment whether this hypothesis is true or false. The next one is organizing data. So I am going to organize the data. Fifth one is organizing data. What is will be the organization data? So experimentation and verification I can do how? I can take a torch and a white sheet of cardboard and a plastic board. Okay, I am going to take a torch. So from the torch I can send some light. So here verification through a torch. I am going to take a torch and sending some light, and I am going to take a white cardboard and place it somewhere. In front of that one I am going to keep a plastic board, and I am going to verify. This is the path of light. I have kept something board to block this one. So at that time what I can see there, I can get a small shadow here. So I can verify when the path of light is blocked with some material which is not allowing the light to pass, and then I will get a shadow. Then what is organization data? Making a table of the formation of shadow on the cardboard from a different object. So instead of board, I can use stone piece, a pen, or a paper, your textbook, whatever things you can have. So you are going to organize data means by changing this object you are going to repeat the experiments and see whether the shadows are formed or no. So what will be the change? Then the next step is drawing conclusion or putting a theory. Sixth step is we are going to conclude conclusion or putting a theory. If it is correct, then I can conclude that one. When the path of light is blocked by some material, I am going to get a shadow. I can make it that one in a theory if the hypothesis is okay, if the hypothesis is true. Then next one is the application. The last step is, seventh step is application. So what will be the application? What will be the application? Then the shadow of an umbrella protects us from the sunlight. One of the application of this scientific method. So up to here, by conclusion, I know that when an object is placed in between light and screen, I can get a shadow. So what will be the application of human being? How the science is going to help the human being? During sunlight, it is very hot. Our body will be getting too hot. You can use a umbrella. So instead of torch, in the place of torch, what will be there? Sun will be there. In place of this plastic board, we are going to keep an umbrella. Umbrella will block the light. So part of light is blocked by an object umbrella, and we are going to get the shadow of umbrella, and we will be under the umbrella, inside the shadow. So our body will be protected. Clear? So this method is called scientific method. What is a scientific method? The systematic way of asking questions and finding answers through observations and experiments is called scientific method. And in scientific method, we are going to have 7 steps. One is identifying the problem. Second one is doing background research. Third one is developing hypothesis. Fourth one is experimentation and verification. Fifth one is organizing data. Sixth one is conclusion or theory. And seventh one is application. As an example, we have seen that our identifying the problem. The problem was, or the question was, why shadows are formed. Then doing background research, we have used our teachers or our elders or the internet, and we have searched books or something, and we have collected some data, and developing a hypothesis that by collecting the data we understood that the path of light is blocked. When the path of light is blocked with some objects, you are going to find shadow. That is our hypothesis. It can be true or it can be false. Then experimentation and verification. In experimentation, we have taken a torch and a board and a white cardboard, and we have kept the board in between torch and cardboard. That means path of light is blocked by an object, and then you will get a shadow. Then organizing data means instead of board, you are going to replace another material. You can give your watch, pen, pencil, whatever things you are going to have, and that data is collected. And after collecting the data, conclusion is made, or you are going to put a theory because it was true. Hypothesis was true. When the hypothesis is true, the hypothesis will become a theory. So what will be the theory? What will be the theory? The theory is shadows are formed when an object comes in between the path of light. Then again, the application is umbrella. Here we are using umbrella to protect our body from the sunlight. So this is called the scientific method. So this is our first section. So we have discussed about the science, the branches of science. Science is having two branches: physical science and living science. Physical science is having three categories: physics, chemistry and geology. Then whereas the life science or the biology is having two branches: botany and zoology. And the acquisition or the systematic way to ask questions and find the answers through observation and experimentation is called the scientific method. And the scientific methods is having 7 steps: identifying the problem, doing the background research, developing hypothesis, experimentation and verification, organizing data, conclusion or theory, and application. So you have to go through your textbook, note down the main points what I have written on the board on your physics copy, and after the chapter there are some questions are there. That questions you have to find your answers, and if some questions are there which feels difficult for you, you can ask me when we are having some online sections to discuss the question and answers. Okay, thank you.